Chaos at the end of the Red Dynasty. Nationwide calls for rebellion as various forms of resistance shake the CCP regime. Is Xi's era nearing its end? Henan schoolgirl dies after falling due to bullying. Thousands of students and citizens demand justice, angrily smashing school facilities. US-China tariff war ends, but orders don't return to China. Dongguan, the world's factory, cools down as global supply chains shift to Vietnam, leaving China behind. The CCP's repressive and hostile policies are destroying its own economy, driving foreign businesses to flee in fear. CCP Ministry of State Security lists 8 types of spy personas accused of fomenting fear. Epidemic outbreak. Schools in China ordered to suspend classes or enforce home quarantine. Welcome back to New Century, your space for honest, independent journalism and stories that go beyond the headlines. Chaos at the end of the Red Dynasty. Nationwide calls for rebellion as various forms of resistance shake the CCP regime. Is Xi's era nearing its end? Amid an economic downturn, Chinese society is descending into chaos, with protests and riots erupting frequently. Incidents such as revenge against society, arson over wage disputes, and jumping off bridges due to unpaid wages continue to emerge. Calls for rebellion are surging online, and the wave of unpaid wages has spread to civil servants and employees of public institutions within the Chinese Communist Party system. On May 25th, a viral video showed retired employees from enterprises and public institutions in Changsha blocking the city government, demanding equal treatment with civil servants. The post's author noted that their monthly pension of just over 2,000 yuan, approximately 278 USD, is insufficient to sustain their current living conditions. The footage revealed a large crowd, numbering over 1,000 protesters. A person, presumably a government official, addressed the crowd through a megaphone, promising a resolution. However, the protesters remained unconvinced and continued chanting. On the same day, another viral video criticized Xi Jinping's dictatorship and called for democratic reforms. In it, a man stated, "Let me predict, Xi Jinping won't last more than 5 years. Who's next after he's gone?" He added, "From what I know, it's likely an adopted son of a former leader, a godson of a boss named Hu, I suppose. Just take a guess." When netizens pressed for clarity, the livestream host replied, "I've been clear enough. I can't say more or I'll get in trouble. Just guess." Unexpectedly, the livestream was abruptly shut down. That same day, another young man discussing the same topic during a livestream was also suddenly cut off. Comments from netizens included, "Bold. Xi has been in power for 12 years. It's still him, Xi. Hopefully Hu Haifeng and Hu Chunhua." US-based commentator Li Muyang, in his self-media program, remarked that despite the CCP's strict internet surveillance, someone openly discussed Xi stepping down. The former boss mentioned is undoubtedly former CCP leader Hu Jintao. Although there's no known claim of Hu Chunhua being Hu Jintao's godson, Hu Chunhua has recently been notably active. Li Muyang argued that regardless of who takes power next, as long as the CCP remains, China cannot improve. Only by returning power to the people through political reform can better days come, requiring the CCP's dissolution. Recently, Chinese university professors have also begun speaking out. On April 28th, a widely circulated open letter titled "A Single Spark Can Start a Prairie Fire" by Lin Ying, Dean of the School of Biology and Engineering at South China University of Technology, and Assistant Dean Han Shuangyan, urged Chinese citizens, especially university students, to stand up and oppose dictatorship, fight for democracy and freedom. After gaining widespread attention domestically and internationally, their personal information on the university's website was altered, with their position details removed. Neither has commented further on the issue. On May 13th, Zhang Yingjie, an associate professor at Peking University's Guanghua School of Management, published an article titled "No solution to the crisis, no salvation for the system," sharply criticizing Xi's Communist Party. The article accused the CCP of excelling at making empty promises and called its contradictory actions the greatest joke, while advocating for political reform. Analysts predict such incidents will increase. The outlet Yibao, which published the article, has since removed it. Notably, on April 15th, 3 large anti-CCP banners were hung on a pedestrian bridge in a busy area of Chengdu, Sichuan, shocking Zhongnanhai, China's political leadership. The banners read, "Without political reform, there is no national rejuvenation. The people don't need an unchecked party, and China doesn't need anyone to dictate its direction. Democracy is the direction." Dongguan, a former Inner Mongolia official now living abroad, revealed that the individual responsible, 27-year-old Mei Shilin, has since gone missing and is likely imprisoned, with a grim outlook. Despite the CCP's authoritarian grip, university professors and ordinary citizens in mainland China are protesting in various ways. Given the CCP's information blockade, the news reaching overseas represents only the tip of the iceberg, indicating that the Chinese people increasingly recognize the CCP's malevolent nature and eagerly await its collapse. Additionally, a sudden wave of enthusiasm for Huang Chao has emerged on the Chinese internet. Huang Chao's poem, "When Autumn Comes on the 8th Day of the 9th Month, After My Flowers Bloom, All Others Will Wither," has been widely shared. Under a video about labor dispute protests, netizens commented, "Where do we start the uprising? Anyone forming a team? Where do we gather? In Guangzhou? Gather in Zhongshan? Gather in Wuhan?" One user jokingly remarked, "As per tradition, let's start the rebellion in Nanchang." A person claiming to be a former armed police officer wrote, "I was in the armed police. Anyone want to team up?" Another responded, "When the time is right, wait for the great wind to rise." Commentator Tang Jingyuan stated, "The harsher the CCP's control and the more ruthless its exploitation, the more it resembles a pressure cooker. Once it bursts, the backlash will be terrifying." These comments may seem like jokes, but they conceal the seeds of public discontent. Given China's current social conditions, transitioning from half-joking remarks to actual action requires only a single triggering event. Henan schoolgirl dies after falling due to bullying. Thousands of students and citizens demand justice, angrily smashing school facilities. In Suchang, Henan, a junior high school girl fell to her death from a building, and her family accused a teacher of long-term bullying. The school, adhering to its usual stability maintenance tactics, suppressed the family, sparking public outrage. Thousands of citizens rallied in support, angrily smashing school facilities. On May 26th, the overseas independent self-media outlet Yesterday, which focuses on social incidents in mainland China, released a video exposing a large-scale protest involving thousands at Suchang No. 6 Middle School. The video showed thousands of students and citizens gathered outside the school, some distributing flyers. A building's outer wall was defaced with graffiti, and many protesters threw objects, shattering numerous windows. Police were present in large numbers for stability maintenance, violently suppressing the protesters. The family and informed students alleged online that Wu Yijia, a left-behind child whose parents worked far from home, was an excellent student. However, after a new homeroom teacher took over her class, she endured 6 months of bullying, including frequent public humiliation, forced standing as punishment, being barred from the classroom for entire days, being made to run in scorching heat, and being ostracized by classmates at the teacher's instigation. The prolonged abuse led to depressive symptoms, and Wu tearfully pleaded with her mother over the phone to transfer schools. The family accused the school of refusing to take responsibility and attempting to blame them for poor supervision. The involved teacher showed no remorse, acting coldly and even scrolling on their phone during discussions. A video released by the family showed police present at the meeting for stability maintenance, with the school acting emboldened. The family directly accused the school, stating, "Even the police station is on your side. On the evening of May 24th, the grieving and helpless family protested at the school's entrance, tearfully sharing their story with onlookers. The deceased students' classmates posted messages on social media to support the family, exposing details and urging netizens to pay attention. On the morning of May 25th, the family returned to the school to demand justice. By noon, large numbers of students, parents, and citizens gathered at the school gate to seek justice for Wu Yijie. Students printed photos of the involved teacher, distributing and posting them at the scene. They also wrote slogans like "Blood debt demands blood repayment" on the school's walls and ground using chalk and spray paint. By the afternoon, the crowd had grown to over 1,000. Some protesters began throwing flyers and firecrackers at the school. With the school gates locked, angry students smashed windows of a street-facing school building by throwing objects and kicking. Police and riot police soon arrived, dispersing the students and using pepper spray. Eyewitnesses reported that police beat students and arrested at least 5. Authorities ordered the police to block major roads around the school. Late into the night, numerous police and patrol cars remained stationed around the school, with many students and citizens still gathered across the street. By the morning of May 26th, Wu Yijie's father, who had not appeared publicly, released a video, seemingly under official pressure, claiming the matter had been properly handled and urging people to stop discussing it online. In recent years, frequent deaths and self-inflicted deaths in Chinese schools have been met with the Chinese Communist Party's consistent stability maintenance tactics, suppressing victims and protecting perpetrators, leading to multiple large-scale public protests. In December 2023, a middle school student in Ningling County, Shangku, Henan, died under mysterious circumstances, with multiple holes in their arm, some exposing bone, seemingly caused by a screwdriver. The CCP authorities insisted it was a self-inflicted death, sparking protests by tens of thousands, including supporters from other provinces. In January 2025, a 17-year-old boy at Pucheng County Vocational Education Center in Shanxi died after falling from a building. His family alleged bullying, but officials claimed he jumped after opening a window, triggering another protest by tens of thousands. Ji Yiping, a pseudonym, a longtime observer of China's rights defense movements, told Radio Free Asia that online videos of the Shanxi incident showed most participants were young people, unemployed youth turning to violence. He noted this differs from the white paper movement, which was largely driven by employed youth or those from major cities. He expressed concern that young people in smaller county towns joining such a mass event reflects today's dire economic conditions, suggesting that group incidents like this could multiply in 2025. Veteran media figure Yan Chenggu wrote on Facebook on January 12th that society is dominated by petty tyrants controlling every facet of life, leaving the masses in widespread hardship and mental distress, the root of the protesters' fierce resistance. Enduring silently forever means endless suffering, he wrote. One day the people will rise with swords drawn to renew the nation. U.S.-China tariff war ends, but orders don't return to China. Dongguan, the world's factory, cools down as global supply chains shift to Vietnam, leaving China behind. In April 2025, the U.S.-China trade war erupted. Despite the Chinese Communist Party's defiant stance of fighting to the end, China's foreign trade industry suffered a severe blow. Just 1 month later, the CCP quietly initiated the first round of trade negotiations with the U.S. in Geneva, agreeing to temporarily lower tariffs starting May 14th. The U.S. reduced its additional tariffs from 145% to 30%, and the CCP simultaneously lowered its retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. While this progress exceeded expectations, China's foreign trade businesses remain grim. A man shared, "You think canceling tariffs will magically improve factory orders and raise wages? That workers' good times are coming? Don't believe their nonsense. Factory orders won't surge." The root cause is that in recent years, ordinary manufacturing orders have shifted to countries like India and Vietnam in Southeast Asia because their labor is cheaper. Another blogger explained, after the U.S.-China tariff war eased, the market hasn't warmed up as people expected. I see a few reasons for this. First, during the high tariff period, many American clients found alternative supply chains in other countries and regions. and those orders are already placed. Our own American clients told us they've given orders to new Canadian suppliers. Second, even though tariffs have been lowered, Trump is still the U.S. president. He could tweet one day and raise tariffs again. So American clients remain cautious about placing orders with Chinese suppliers. It's clear that despite the preliminary U.S.-China trade agreement, orders for Chinese foreign trade businesses haven't improved. Zhao Ruyan, director of Jiangsu's export-oriented company, Green Willow Textile, told CNBC that their company paused U.S. orders for a month. While they're now preparing to restart some production lines, they don't expect American clients' orders to fully return, as some U.S. buyers have shifted to other suppliers. Jonathan Silva, founder of Massachusetts-based board game company WS Game Company, told the Associated Press that their company still has 9 containers stuck at Chinese factories, urgently awaiting shipment now that tariffs are at 30%. He said, "The timing is terrible. Production schedules will inevitably be delayed. We're working hard to renegotiate with Chinese factories and clients." The most direct impact of the U.S.-China tariff war on Chinese people is the growing number of job losses. Alicia Garcia Herrero, chief Asia-Pacific economist at Natixis, previously estimated that the U.S.'s triple-digit tariffs on China could lead to 6 to 9 million job losses. She noted that current U.S.-China tariff levels could result in 4 to 6 million job losses, and even a 20% tariff reduction might still cause 1.5 to 2.5 million jobs to disappear. The hardest hit are the widespread closures of Chinese factories. A businessman stated, "Right now, factories are undergoing a major shakeup. About 85% of physical processing factories are losing money. Roughly 10% are breaking even, and only about 5% might still be profitable." Don't believe me? Go check it out yourself. Most factories are cutting wages and laying off workers. Without orders, there's nothing to say, but the key issue is that even when there are orders, they're not profitable. The cutthroat competition is intense, and to survive, companies rarely have stable one-to-one job positions anymore. Moreover, Taiwanese companies, which once brought massive employment opportunities to China, are increasingly pulling out of the mainland. Dongguan, Guangdong, known as the world's factory, is clearly feeling this chill. A blogger analyzed, "Dongguan was once the world's factory, but has now fallen to the bottom of Guangdong's GDP growth rankings. It used to be a wealthy city, second only to Shenzhen in per capita GDP, and a globally renowned hub for OEM factories. Why has Dongguan declined so drastically in recent years? Many factories have left, leaving industrial parks and streets desolate. The primary reason is external. Our foreign trade exports are facing obstacles, and Dongguan, heavily reliant on foreign trade, has exports accounting for 80% of its GDP. It's not just Dongguan facing this predicament. Even Kunshan, Jiangsu, once a hub for Taiwanese investment, is experiencing similar conditions. You might wonder, where are these Taiwanese companies going after leaving China? They're moving to Vietnam. Quavo Industrial Park in Bac Ninh Province, Vietnam, has become a hotspot for foreign investment, particularly for electronics factories like Samsung, Foxconn, Canon, and Luxshare Precision, which have established production bases there. Bac Ninh is now dubbed the Vietnamese version of Dongguan. The workforce applying to factories in Vietnam consists almost entirely of young women, reminiscent of the electronics factories in Guangdong, Shenzhen, and Dongguan in the 1990s, which also primarily hired women. The average monthly wage for ordinary workers in Vietnam ranges from 2,500 to 3,500 RMB, approximately 486 US dollars, with some factories requiring night shifts and overtime. Western, Japanese, and Korean companies are reportedly the most sought-after employers in Vietnam, offering higher wages and better benefits than those from other countries or regions. The Taiwanese company Pouchen Industrial has relocated to Vietnam, bringing significant activity to the local area. The CCP's repressive and hostile policies are destroying its own economy, driving foreign businesses to flee in fear. Taiwanese businesses once flocked to mainland China to set up factories, creating substantial job opportunities and boosting local economies. However, the Chinese Communist Party has been unfriendly to Taiwanese investors, particularly during the 3 years of pandemic lockdowns, which remain a chilling memory for many. A U.S. think tank survey identifies the top 3 reasons for Taiwanese businesses leaving China: high labor, wage costs, 33%, the risk of supply chain disruptions, 25.9%, and changes in investment policies, 25.2%. Taiwanese businessman Liao Jinzhong, who operated enterprises in mainland China for over 20 years, decisively left in 2022. Liao told overseas Chinese media that in 1995, when he first entered the mainland, an ordinary worker's base salary was about 200 RMB per month. With daily overtime, a worker could earn 300 to 400 RMB monthly, a significant amount when the average mainland wage was only 80 RMB. This drove many to leave inland areas for coastal cities. Liao noted, "When I left 2 years ago, an ordinary worker's salary was around 5,000 RMB, a roughly 25-fold increase over those 2 decades. Yet, strikingly, many workers still can't support their families. Why? Because Xi Jinping's inflation has devoured their earnings." He also expressed disbelief at CCP leader Xi Jinping's actions. Xi ordered lockdowns. Locking down Shanghai might be understandable, but he even shut down the Shanghai port, completely halting imports. In Xi's eyes, the economy doesn't matter. He cares only about preserving his regime. Li Mengzhu, former general manager of a tech company, was disappeared in August 2019 after entering Shenzhen from Hong Kong and was imprisoned for 4 years in China on baseless charges. He analyzed the reasons and timing of Taiwanese capital's exodus from China. Starting in 2015, Beijing's 5 insurances and 1 fund policy raised minimum wages, prompting many traditional industries in Dongguan to relocate to Vietnam or other Southeast Asian countries, marking the first wave of foreign capital withdrawal. The second wave was fueled by the U.S.-China trade war, COVID-19 lockdowns, and the CCP's enactment of vague laws like the anti-espionage law and the patriotic education law. These heightened fears for personal safety among Taiwanese businesses, leading more to withdraw factories from mainland China. Li also noted that after Republic of China President Lai Ching-te took office, the CCP promptly introduced measures like the 22 anti-Taiwan independence articles to constrain Taiwanese businesses. This caused significant unease among Taiwanese investors, many of whom refrained from voicing opinions publicly. Several decided to leave mainland China after these measures were introduced. The arrival of Taiwanese and foreign capital once greatly spurred China's economic growth. But the CCP's arrogant policy tightening, coupled with lockdowns and stringent ideological surveillance, has driven Taiwanese businesses away, further deteriorating China's economy. The CCP has not only shot itself in the foot, but also shattered the livelihoods of ordinary Chinese people. In today's world, it seems only the CCP regime could commit such folly. CCP Ministry of State Security lists 8 types of spy personas accused of fomenting fear. On May 25th, China's Ministry of State Security published an article on its official WeChat account titled "Exposing the Many Faces of Spies," claiming that foreign agents adopt various disguises and identities. The agency highlighted 5 specific spy personas: detectives who do not investigate, posing as private detectives or consultants to probe sensitive high-tech information; scholars who do not research, entering universities under the guise of academic exchange to recruit insiders; businessmen who do not operate, posing as investors or partners, using financial or emotional leverage to coerce individuals; tourists who do not sightsee, traveling on tourism visas while conducting mapping and reconnaissance or persuading locals to do so; lovers who do not care, feigning relationships with overseas students or online partners for infiltration and recruitment. The article also warned that spies might disguise themselves as journalists, visa officers, or NGO staff. In response, Sheng Shui, global vice chair of the Federation for a Democratic China and an award-winning writer, told the Epoch Times that the CCP's Ministry of State Security's propaganda is not genuinely aimed at countering espionage, but at creating fear. She stated that one of the CCP's core ruling principles is terrorism, which seeks to perpetuate fear within society. She believes this tactic is designed to make Chinese citizens immediately wary, resistant, or hostile toward foreigners or overseas Chinese returning to China. This sends a clear message. Anyone with connections to the outside world should be treated as an enemy, she said. Lai Jianping, a former Beijing lawyer and chair of the Federation for a Democratic China in Canada, also told the Epoch Times that the CCP's Ministry of State Security is using this campaign to consolidate its authoritarian rule and incite hatred. It aims to isolate China from the world, plunging citizens into a state of national security panic and fostering vigilance or even hatred toward outsiders, and he said. He added that the CCP's goal is to manipulate Chinese citizens into suspecting every foreigner as a potential spy or agent, employing crude tactics. The ultimate purpose is to tighten control over domestic citizens' speech, actions, and personal freedoms, creating a politically enslaved, prison-like authoritarian system, he noted. Epidemic outbreak. Schools in China ordered to suspend classes or enforce home quarantine. Mainland Chinese social media platforms have recently been flooded with reports of school closures and home quarantines due to COVID-19 outbreaks in Guangdong, Shanxi, Jiangsu, and other regions. Given the Chinese Communist Party's consistent concealment of the pandemic's true scale, these circulating reports may only reveal the tip of the iceberg. On May 20th, a Douyin, Chinese TikTok blogger with an IP address in Shanxi, Ningbo Yingyi, shared a school notice to parents, expressing frustration over an unexpected suspension. The notice for Class 401 stated that, starting May 17th, 5 students in the class had shown symptoms such as fever and vomiting. Following guidance from the local Center for Disease Control, the class was instructed to suspend in-person classes for 4 days, resuming on Friday, May 23rd. Comments on the video from Shanxi netizens included remarks such as, Xi'an has been hit hard by the COVID-19 virus recently, and we generally don't go out unless necessary. Another user wrote, My child's kindergarten had 30 kids, but only 15 showed up today. I'm constantly on edge, not knowing what's going on. On May 17th, a blogger with a Jiangsu IP address, Yuqian International, posted a 10-second video showing a nearly pitch-black school at night. The blogger commented, I heard COVID-19 is back. Some primary schools have started suspending classes. Are we going to be stuck in our neighborhoods doing nucleic acid tests again? It's tough. Another tough year. On May 26th, a home isolation notice circulated on the X platform from a Guangzhou primary school to a student's parent. It stated that Luo, a student in Class 4, Grade 3, was diagnosed with COVID-19 on May 18th, 2025. Per higher authorities' requirements, the student was to isolate from May 18th to May 25th. During isolation, the student was prohibited from participating in group activities or entering public places. On May 24th, Zhong Nanshan, a member of the Chinese Academy of Engineering, stated during a virtual address at the 2025 Guangzhou Science and Technology Week opening ceremony that the COVID-19 pandemic remains at its peak. Dr. Li Tongzeng, director of the Infectious Diseases Department at Beijing Yuan Hospital, affiliated with Capital Medical University, recently told China Business News that this wave is expected to peak in late May. On May 23rd, the Chinese CDC reported 168,507 new confirmed COVID-19 cases in April, including 340 severe cases and 9 deaths, indicating a fluctuating upward trend. All 8,588 reported local cases were caused by Omicron variant sublineages, primarily the XDV series, with the 6th-generation subbranch NB.181 being the dominant strain. Notably, due to the Chinese Communist Party's consistent concealment of the pandemic's true scale, the authenticity of official reports is widely questioned. U.S. virologist Dr. Xiaoshu Lin, a former director of the virology lab at the U.S. Army Research Institute, stated on May 27th during the Elite Forum on the Gunjing World platform, China's issue is absolutely not just about a single COVID variant. The data it has released is misleading. It hasn't disclosed specific infection numbers, and the CCP's data is inherently deceptive. Thank you for watching New Century. If you believe in the importance of clear, fact-based reporting, we invite you to subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and pass this along to others who care about truth. Until next time, stay informed, stay grounded, and take care.